Hello, my dear friends. Thank you so much for watching my channel tonight, because tonight I will tell you a lot of interesting things about one particular individual in Russia. Okay, as always, there's a lot of friends in the chat. Guys, hello, it's so nice to see you. Again, several short updates. Yesterday I promised to tell you about the situation in Kharkiv. And as of now, we know that after the strike that you can see on your screen right now, 43 people were hurt, one woman died. Among the victims, there are kids, one for 12 and 13 years old. The rescue operation still continues as of now. Also, there's information that Ukrainian rescuers went to Poland to help with the natural disaster that happened yesterday. Also, we have information which is more positive, let's say. We have information that apparently a bunch of Russian troops were blocked or surrounded in the area of Kreminna. And also we have good updates from Glushkovka, the Kursk region. There, it seems like the Russian flank collapsed, but it's not really confirmed yet. Guys, today we gathered to talk about Aleksander Dugin. Who the hell is Aleksander Dugin? Why is he so important in Russia? Why Tucker Carlson and all kinds of degenerates, pro-Russian degenerates, support him and admire him? Like, what's the deal? Who is the guy? Okay, as you probably understand, in order to justify invading different country, in order to generally motivate people to go and fight and die in a foreign land, you need some kind of ideological foundation for this. And in Russia, they understand it very, very well. They understand that they need ideology in order to send their meat, their cannon fodder to other countries in big numbers, so they would die for Putin. And like, this is a clear thing. A big mistake made by different politicians is that they create parties or they promote their programs without any sort of ideological background, ideological basis, foundation. And Russians have it. So today we will talk about this individual, Aleksander Dugin. And guys, I will blow your mind today, because what you gonna hear today about this man that is considered extremely well narrator, speaker, extremely educated, extremely successful, don't know how to call it, successful scholar, let's say, successful, not inventor even. However, yeah, in Russia he is considered an inventor of an ideology. Ruski Mir, the Russian world, is basically created by this man. But what do we know about him? And guys, I prepared some information for you. It's extremely, extremely cool. First of all, do you know what this symbol behind this man, what does it mean? Those arrows pointing everywhere. Let's refer to Wikipedia, my friends. And this behind this man, because again, Dugin is known for being like extremely educated in terms of symbols and everything else. Of course, he understands the meaning of that shit, and this is the symbol of chaos. Symbol of chaos, symbol of offensive, symbol of conquest. and like all you needed to know about like the peaceful ideology of Russian world. Here it is on your screens. What do we know about Dugin? Let's travel back to 1960s Moscow. Not like 800 years back, like Putin likes to travel, but just a bit. 1960s Moscow. There was this Russian writer, Yuri Mamleev, who created a discussion group of occult and traditionalist intellectuals based in Moscow. The group was called, and it's nothing special, the group was called the Black Order of SS. Okay. Of course, it's necessary to say that this group was completely underground, like secret society, okay, secret society of individuals, of intellectuals who would study and research things related to like mysterious practices of other secret societies. It was cool back in those days, 1960. But of course, if KGB learned that they're like in Moscow, they have a secret society called the Black Order of SS, I think they would get like executed. Maybe not, for the reasons I will tell you later. So the chief of this organization was known as Yevgeny Golovin, sometimes, not sometimes, often referred to as Reichsführer, okay? Again, this is Moscow 60s. And in the 1980s, approximately that time, Aleksander Dugin, young and perspective Russian fascist, became a member of the Black Order of SS. Absolutely beautiful Russian organization. So in this organization in Moscow, they mostly studied traditionalism and Nazi esoterics. You probably know what esoterics is, Yelena Blavatsky, and all that crazy shit. According to different witnesses, this study, was also accompanied by like various orgies, etc., etc. But the hell with that. Doesn't matter much. So being extremely, extremely overwhelmed by the ideas and mystical practices of Nazi German SS, in 1989, Dugin attempts to publish his ideas that were raised or acquired in the early 80s in the Black Order of SS in Moscow. So in his books, in his publications, he tried to mix the ideas of communism and National Socialism. In early 1990s, which is, again, extremely interesting, Dugin's father, according to different rumors, was a general of Russian Grugasha, the same pricks who, guys, I know that this shit sounds like extremely cringy, but this is the background of Aleksander Dugin himself, okay? Like, I'm not making anything up. It's from the open sources. That is the guy endorsed by Tucker Carlson. So Grugasha, same pricks who poisoned plenty of people in the United Kingdom, in Salisbury, using combat chemicals. This dude, according to rumors, he was a general, and he granted his son, which became like, his birthday wish come true. He granted his son, Aleksander Dugin, the access to the archives of the Russian secret services. And in those archives, young and prospective Russian fascist Aleksander Dugin dedicates quite a lot of time studying like I know I'm talking about it as if it's like from my second channel, right? Like mythical stories and mystical creatures and shit, but it's like reality. Unfortunately, it's a Russian reality. So Aleksander Dugin dedicated several years of his life studying Anna Nerbe. I don't know how to laugh here. Anna Nerbe, what do we know about this beautiful organization? I don't know. So Anna Nerbe was a secret Nazi organization that was established by Heinrich Himmler in SS. And they were promoting all the racial doctrines that were used by the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler. This is where they were justifying slaughtering other nations, the Holocaust, etc., etc., and all their Nazi beliefs of like supremacy of white race and yada yada, and being God's chosen. This was the organization that was designed to justify all that, to find metaphysical foundation for those claims. Dugin was extreme fan of this shit. He was extremely admiring their works. He studied all those documents found in the Russian archives. And later, Dugin, because again, he could speak properly. Basically, if you can serve as a proper talking head on a television, you are invited everywhere. I can tell myself, okay? Dugin starts being invited on different television shows, different radio stations, radio shows, radio podcasts, and he also starts having his own program on the Russian radio where he talks, when he retransmits all that shit. And also he starts publishing. So in his shows, he talks about the occult roots of the Russian nationalism, of divine foundations of the white Russian race, and the holy path of the supreme Russian people. It's needless to say that all that time, since the early days of Dugin pretending to be a philosopher and like prominent ideologist, he always considered West as the main adversaries of the Russian Empire. Always. Despite being absolutely crazy about Anna Nerbe and Aleister Crowley and shit like that, of course he always considers West like the main adversaries, main enemies that must be destroyed. But it's really interesting that he always talks about the Russian Empire, because in Dugin's dreams, Russia was always an empire, a holy civilization that was born to dominate the world. Here, for example, I found some of his pictures. It's from another Russian website. There are investigations. Here you can see this is Yevgeny Golovin. That is the leader of the Russian occult fascists in Moscow. And there you can see Aleksander Dugin. That's the guy on the left. Larisa Pyatnitskaya, Yevgeny Golovin, the guy, the fascist. And artist Valery Konoplev. He was also a member of the Black Order of SS. Glorious Russian intellectual organization. It's so funny that, there are people on the West like admiring this shit. Oh my God. So Dugin is known among Russians as a prophet of the idea of neo-Eurasianism and conservative revolution. He always talks about the main goal of conservative revolution as returning back to the times when everything was conservative, and it was before the crisis of conservative ideas of the world, before like communism. However, communism is also important in his ideology. So considering like the roots of his ideology of conservatism and shit, that date back to his days in the Black Order of SS, I mean, it's easy to understand why he even promotes them. So the foundation of his ideology, Eurasianism and conservative revolution, is a mix of communism and fascism. And he describes it as a war against inequality of classes based on the nationalist beliefs. So he was editor-in-chief of a Russian magazine called Elements. Okay, guys, I know it sounds like, seriously, I know it sounds like a freaking mental illness. I'm just trying to explain to you. Probably it is, but let's just stay serious. Okay, let's stay focused, because Tucker Carlson, for example, and other degenerates, they take it very, very seriously. Russians take it seriously because they use it as a foundation, as a basis for like invading other countries. Okay, so let's stay serious as well. He became an editor-in-chief of the Russian magazine Elements. Again, it was early 90s. It was liberal times of liberalism, when you could talk about all kinds of stuff. Like fascist ideas were extremely popular in Russia back in those days. And in the very, very first issue of this magazine, editor-in-chief Dugin says, "Fascism is interesting to us as a form of spiritual idealistic..." Sorry. Fascism is... Oh my God, I'm trying to puke. Is interesting to us from a spiritual idealistic side, as an ideology that tries to overcome class confrontation in society through an appeal to the national factor. Fuck my life. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. It's known that in his books, full of, like esoterics, magic, occult shit, Dugin endorses Himmler and admires the freedom of thought that existed in the SS, like literally. Like, how cool is that? Freedoms of thought that existed in the Nazi German SS. This is something so incredible. It's like, I don't know what to even compare to. Like, apparently this is the reason why Tucker Carlson also admires Dugin and invites like Holocaust deniers and Holocaust revisionists to explain that, Holocaust was very much necessary, so white race could dominate the world again. But it's not all. For example, I believe it was 1997. He made this one. Yeah, 1997. In his beautiful article that is called Fascism, Glorious and Red, here I have it. God, where did I have it? Here. You can see this absolutely beautiful. Fascism is limitless or unboundary and red. This is one of the Dugin's publications, okay? There is like the name of the author. Again, amazing graphics, amazing symbolism. Guys, you don't even imagine how much Russians are like fixated or crazy on symbols. It's very, very, very important from the standpoint of propaganda, of course. So In his publication, he says, and I will translate it for you. Sorry, I had to blur the swastika behind his head, behind the head of this amazing Russian gentleman. He says, in the 20th century, there are... guys, just listen to this, okay? It's very important. In the 20th century, there are only 3 ideological forms that have been able to prove the reality of their principles in frames of political and state implementation. These are liberalism, communism, and fascism. Dugin says, it is impossible to name another model of society that would not be one of those forms, of those ideologies, and at the same time exist in reality. There are liberal countries, there are communist countries, and then there are fascist or nationalist countries. Again, I have literally no idea what kind of stupid fuck you should be if you don't understand the difference between nationalism and fascism. But anyways, there are no other types, and there cannot be. In Russia, we have gone, he continues, in Russia, we have gone through 2 ideological stages, communist and liberal. Now, only fascism remains. Fascism is nationalism, but not just any... Fuck, it's not. Anyways, fascism is nationalism, but not just any nationalism, but revolutionary, rebellious, romantic, idealistic, appealing to the great myth and transcendental idea, striving to embody the impossible dream in reality, to give birth to a society of a hero, of a Superman, and to transform the world. I can literally see Adolf Eichmann reading that shit. I mean, that is... Oh, Sanctioned Divan! Hello, my friend. Hello, buddy. We just talked today. I hope you will enjoy this stuff. It's absolutely amazing. So, as you probably understand, Dugin admires fascism in all its forms throughout his publications. The fascists are the propagandists on Russian television, 100%. 100%, and generally speaking, Dugin contributed a lot to this fact. He really did. In 1991, he publishes the book called Paths of Absolute. I have a picture of this book. Here it is. You can see this absolutely beautiful cover. By the way, Ivan, if you're watching this, I have a cup, okay, with a Gryffindor, because Gryffindor is the best. And in this book, which is kind of crazy, Paths of Absolute. Guys, I always thought that Absolute was a brand of Swedish vodka, seriously. But generally, if it's about vodka, then it totally makes sense, right? Let me turn on this friggin' shit. So, in this book, he talks about the Gnostic content of the inner metaphysics of any tradition. If you think that Dugin is a kind of genius, just wait, okay? But it's important to remember that Dugin admits that he's agnostic, 100% Russian agnostic. 2 years later, in 1993, he publishes a book called Hyperborean Theory, where he basically promotes the theory of Hermann Wirth. What do we know about Hermann Wirth? Who is this absolutely amazing gentleman that was quoted and researched by Aleksander Dugin so much? Who is this man that Aleksander Dugin is basically basing his own philosophy of the Russian divine nature and stuff? Let's check it out. So, Hermann Wirth was a historian, a Nazi, and a scholar of ancient religions and symbols. He was the co-founder of the SS organization Ahnenerbe, but was later pushed out by Heinrich Himmler for obvious reasons, of course. Like, why? Himmler was there from, like, the very beginning. He wanted all the glory for himself. So he promotes the ideas of this dude. He talks about the theory of Hermann Wirth, the first head of the Institute of Ancestral Heritage Ahnenerbe. He talks about the history, the metaphysics, cultural and anthropological superiority of the Aryan race, the Nordic, or also they're called Hyperborean race. And being like a fascist, being a former member of the Black Order of SS, Aleksander Dugin, Russian ideologist, spends enormous time researching this. So, because he started promoting these ideas of a supreme man, ideas of a supreme race, of course, like supreme Russian race, ideas of white Russian domination of the world, this absolutely logically led Dugin to being invited to the Russian neo-Nazi organization called National Bolshevik Party. If you cannot imagine anything more cringier than communists and Nazi, imagine a mix of communists and Nazi called National Bolsheviks. What the fuck is this shit? Like, seriously, National Bolsheviks. Oh my god, what the fuck? Exactly. Misty, that is nuts ball. That is what we call the nuts balls. Apparently, you cannot make up such shit if you don't drink enough Absolute, What happened next? So he was invited to the National Bolshevik Party, and this party is known for being extremist. They are known for being extremist in Russia, okay, but also they gave birth, they served as a trampoline for big amount of Russian modern politicians. And in the end, Dugin becomes a second most influential man in the Russian right-wing movement. Basically, if we check out the fascist and propagandist Russian ideology of today, if we check out, oh, I was surprised when I found out Stolichная vodka was not Russian. Really? Whose vodka is that, though? Let me know. If we analyze the messages, the narratives, the overall culture used by the Russian fascists on the TV, Russian propagandists, we can realize that that is like copy-paste of Goebbels, copy-paste of Nazi propaganda of 1940s, like exactly the same. It's freaking imitation of copy. Let's call it this way. And Dugin's obsession with the Ahnenerbe, because again, he spent tremendous time learning about all that esoteric, crazy freaking shit. Vodka Stolichная made in Latvia. Thanks for letting me know, bro. His obsession with Ahnenerbe, with mythical practices, with occultism, and all other sorts of absolutely insane crap that normal people don't even touch, with like a 9-foot long stick. All these found the reflection in the modern Russian TV culture, Russian mass TV product full with propaganda. I believe that Ivan can tell you quite a lot about it. What is the core, the idea of Dugin's ideology? Why Tucker Carlson admires it so much? The main goal and the main mission of Dugin's this neo-Eurasian ideology, neo-Eurasian ideology, guys, it's really simple. It's literally to justify the war. Thing is, Dugin is dreaming of war. Literally, like any ambitious fuck who imagined himself like a micro-Napoleon, right? He wants war. He wants all the nations to be freaking destroyed, removed from the planet Earth, and he basically wants Russians to dominate the globe. Of course, right now, on its way to the world domination, the Russian army is stuck in the village of Vovchansk, but as soon as this village is captured, Dugin will bring the gods chosen in his imagination nation to the wild forest of Alaska, straight there. Dugin's ideology is literally all about the war. And for example, here we have what Dugin's critics or admirers are saying about him. Dugin's time is the time of the Holy War. The Holy War multiplies and is reflected in the mirrors of the Dugin's reality. Being in these reflections the only way to awaken a person from entropy, falling asleep, and extinction. If you fight, you are alive. If you don't fight, you are freaking nothing. You don't have right to live on this planet. And basically, this reminds me of, some hardcore American politician who likes, like strong rulers, What else? The absence of war or the imitation of war leads, according to Dugin, to the energy impoverishment of history and man as the meaning of history. He enjoys the very idea of the conquest, of the invasion, of the process of invasion, of spreading the ideology of Ruski Mir around other nations. Here, Ivan says the only difference between Russia and Nazi Germany is that Germany actually was able to produce their own cars. Russia still can't. Bro, I can agree on that. And generally, like majority of cars you see nowadays, like Volkswagen, MAN, I think, like all of those, they were produced by the same companies that were producing military equipment, by the way. K-Bell, this is hurting my brain. I'm really, really sorry. I hope you understand me, okay? I will be like jumping on the streetlights after this stream, because I had to spend my time researching this unholy, inhumane freaking shit. So that's just so you could understand. The whole ideology of Dugin is directed at the war. He's like, he's like this mini Genghis Khan. He imagines himself like this ideologist of supreme nation that will be like, bringing Russian world to your home. Why do they believe so much that they'll be the winners of this war? Well, this is because, again, I think that Ivan can tell a lot about it because he lived there. It hurts my brain so much, my friends. I need coffee. Of course, because he was so much inspired by himself, by the Annenerbe, by all those occultist practices and shit. Of course, he wanted to become a politician. That's why in 1995, Dugin decides to get elected. Okay. And in his campaign, he promotes the magical practices of Aleister Crowley, known as the leader of the Western Knights Templars. Guys, just to imagine what kind of fucking soup is that, like in the people's heads. Like, it's cooler than Scientology. Hubbard, comparing to Dugin, is a freaking infant, like seriously. Infant in a dirty diaper. At pre-election concerts for the young people, because apparently Dugin did a lot of his touring around Russia, at pre-election concerts for young people in 1995, the National Bolsheviks from Dugin's team were reading excerpts from Crowley's Book of Law, mixing them with performing Soviet patriotic songs. How freaking cool is this? Just imagine it. And after that, they were performing, using puppets, they were performing episodes from the sexual magic of the Order of the Golden Dawn, where Crowley began his basically satanic practices, widely known, and this is why he became notoriously famous. My God. At the same time, in Elements, in his very own magazine in Russia, he promotes Crowley's sexual magic and the tantric sexual practices of the left hand. Guys, because I was so fucking sick doing this research for you, I didn't even try to learn more. And please don't ask me to do this. I don't want to know anything about Aleister Crowley's practices of the left hand, okay? Because literally I will have to freaking go and find myself some convenient mental institution. But as you probably understand, the black magic didn't help, and Dugin did not become a member of the parliament. And soon after that, he switched to orthodoxy. Of course, what else could he do? 1996, Dugin publishes another book called Metaphysics of the Good News, with the subtitle Orthodox Esotericism. My freaking mother of dog. So in this book, my friends, Dugin states that he analyzes orthodoxy from the methodological position of René Guénon, which means from the position of agnostic who converted to Islam, entered the Sufi order, and is absolutely convinced that Jesus Christ is not the Son of God. My friend, I know it hurts. Please be patient, okay? Please be patient and tolerant, because we need to go together until the very end of this story. Guys, studying Dugin can seriously fuck you up. Pardon my French. The other day, one of the editors asked me whether they can use my podcasts for their radio, and I said, of course, but sorry if I'm swearing so much, because it's really hard not to do it. Because studying this dude can seriously destroy your brain irreversibly. Fucking Crowley, Templars, tantric sex, aliens, Aryans, Shambhala, giants, the God's chosen path of the Russian civilization. It's in his books. It's like it's there. Okay? It's something that may literally hurt you and your kids. What does he say about Ukraine? Of course, being a Russian fascist, Dugin denies existence of Ukraine. He claims that Ukraine doesn't exist, and whatever exists now should be annexed. Okay, when the invasion started, for example, in 2022, he was celebrating this fact very, very much. And he said in his Telegram channel, he said that Russian troops hopefully will not stop this time until whole Ukraine is captured. Without Ukraine, he said, we cannot be considered an empire. Without Ukraine, Russia is not an empire. That is to those who wonder, was the goal of the Russian invasion based on the fascist ideology of Dugin that is now like widespread. But even years before, actually, back in 2014, commenting the events in Odessa, he also called to kill Ukrainians. And when we talk about Odessa, of course, we talk about this event that took place exactly after the end of the Revolution of Dignity, when peaceful pro-Russian protesters, armed with flowers, armed with good intentions, absolutely carrying no weapons, when they arrived to Odessa, barricaded themselves in the Odessa House of Labor Unions, and because they brought a lot of stuff to prepare Molotov cocktails, they toasted themselves. This became known as insane tragedy for Russian fascists because they expected Odessa to fall. They expected to take Odessa the way they took Donetsk and Luhansk, capturing police stations, capturing administrations. But it didn't happen. And they failed. They were so much preparing, so much expecting to take Odessa. They failed really, really bad. Really bad. They failed in Kharkiv, they failed in Kherson, basically all that corridor, right? That east and south of Ukraine, that corridor that they wanted to call Novorossiya, but again, it didn't happen. All that chat basically failed, except for Donetsk, Luhansk, and Crimea. And not all Donetsk and Luhansk. Basically, Russian army still continues to recapture or capture the territories of Donetsk and Luhansk that they don't control since 1991. Okay. Back in 2014, Dugin called to kill Ukrainians, and I will just show you this small piece of his interview that he made for his audience calling to kill Ukrainians.
Я думаю, что украинцам сегодня быть, честно говоря, вот после этого, я сам украинец, вы знаете, у меня есть украинская, у меня предки из Полтавы. Мне стыдно, просто мне стыдно за те небольшую, но все-таки существенную часть своей крови. И я хочу, чтобы эта кровь была очищена кровью мрази, киевской хунты. И я на самом деле не могу выносить в себе эту украинскую кровь, пока я не увижу казненных ублюдков, творивших беззаконие 2 мая. Это серьезно. Это голос крови. На самом деле, я бы не шутил с такими вещами, и я полагаю, что никакого права и гадина на какую-то западную украинскую государственность с центром в Киеве, я понимаю, что Юго-Востока не будет никогда в этом ублюдочном государстве, но никакого права эти люди контролировать даже западную Украину не имеют. Это уже уходит за все пределы. Я думаю, убивать, убивать и убивать. Больше разговоров никаких не должно быть. Как профессор, я так считаю.
Kill, kill, kill. This is a position of a professor in Russia. The dude literally called to kill Ukrainians back in 2014, and he did it using his authority because again Dugin is employed in and was employed in different Russian institutions where he educated students. One interesting fact again is that this is like this amazing fascist logic. Ukraine can only exist without Ukrainians. Ukraine is a beautiful country. It's amazing place, amazing nature, amazing whatever. But until Ukraine, while Ukraine is controlled by that scum, by those Ukrainians, it cannot exist, right? It can only exist as a part of Russia. And this fact bothers Dugin and other Russian fascists so much that literally the fact that beautiful and amazing Ukraine doesn't belong to the Russian Empire, it bothers it. It's like, it's something that burns in their ass so bad, so they cannot sleep. They literally they want this place to be cleared from Ukrainians who decided to be free for some reason, who gave them this right to be free. This place must belong to Muscovia. Fun fact, nowadays, former member of National Bolsheviks and the Black Order of SS, of course, calls himself anti-fascist. Does it mean that he betrayed his ideas, his past, his allies, his friends? Not at all. Because, as we remember, Dugin is Gnostic, right? And among Gnostics, it's like a known fact that you can lie to others and fool non-Gnostics to achieve your goal. Therefore, Russian fascists are basically allowed to call themselves anti-fascists, people who denazify Ukraine, while in reality they simply lie for the greater cause, the greater idea, because it's allowed to them. It's allowed to fool the infidels, non-believers, which is the reason why we can see so many Russian neo-Nazi in Ukraine, Milchakov, Rusich, etc., as well as ultra-right supporters of white Nazism in the United States that are rooting for the Russian terrorism. So this raises 3 questions, in my opinion. Is Dugin a fascist? The answer is, how do you think? I mean, it's freaking obvious. why are Dugin's books banned? Because when Tucker Carlson made his interview with Dugin, he presented Dugin as insanely, extremely talented ideologist and philosopher whose ideas are so great and so overwhelming and like modern that his books are literally banned on the West and around the world. I think for the same reason why, books of extremely talented philosophers from like ISIS are also banned around the world, right? I believe that they wrote quite a few of, beautiful ideas how to behead people properly, apparently, like that is, oh my God, this is extremely cool. Why they're banned? So, question number 3. Is Putin fascist? Because Dugin is known, or he likes to call himself, Putin's advisor, Putin's closest friend, which is basically something that we know for sure because there are several investigations proving that Dugin is responsible for quite a bunch of Russian propaganda shared on the West, including, by the way, the fake news websites, etc., etc. So, is Putin fascist himself? We know, again, it was documented multiple times that Putin admitted that he was a Russian nationalism. Plus, one interesting thing is that when he talks about like nationalists in Ukraine, they're bad. But when he talks about nationalists in Russia, they're good because only Russian fascists know how to be proper nationalists. They know better, which in my opinion is like literally the best designation of like Nazism in the world. Like, better, everybody else is mistaken. You have the whole world of enemies. This is such a pleasure. You can wage your war anywhere. How cool is that? You only live when you fight. You only live when you invade other countries. So clearly it's a completely revolutionary idea of like big God's chosen Russian nation that wages war, therefore it survives. That is promoted by Dugin. In my opinion, this is fucking insane. Like, the dude is literally, his head is overwhelmed with all kinds of Templars, sexual practices of left hand, Aleister fucking Crowley. Oh my God, where are my pills? Jesus Christ. That is the creator of the idea of the Russian world. He is the designer of those bases of foundations, скрепы, of the Russian world that is so much promoted within Russian community, Russian society. Again, during his interview to the Western audience, he is not that aggressive. Of course, he blames the West for being rotten. He blames the West for being overly liberalistic, libertarian. Libertarians on the West are completely fucked up, unfortunately, nowadays. But he doesn't say openly about like we should like destroy United States, we should destroy Europe. He says, well, we are smarter than you because we have traditional values, because we combat everybody else who poses a danger to our democratic state. He calls Russia a democratic state. He calls Putin a democratic leader. The dude who literally rules Russia 20 years in a row, a democratic leader. That is just so amazing. He's not overly aggressive when it comes to the Western audience for a simple reason. It's because when he starts openly claiming that Russia wants to destroy the United States, like, of course, he will be banned, and Tucker Carlson will be anally punished for making interviews with him and promoting him as like a philosopher of the year and stuff. But instead of that, they go a different path. They say that Russia is not the enemy. Russia, if you translate Dugin's books, of course, he talks a lot about destroying the West, destroying all the neighbors, etc., annexing them, the holy war against the West. He talks about it. But they also say that we are not your enemies. We are friends. We are good guys. Everybody else is bad. Your government is bad. Your presidents are bad. Putin is better. Like, if Putin was a president of the United States, he would be much more effective than those Bidens. Trump maybe, yeah, of course. But besides that, yeah, only Putin, you know. He talks about this. He says, West, when he talks openly, he says, West must use our experience, and maybe then you will have chance. You know, again, if you have never been to a freaking Ussurisk, you apparently don't know what I'm talking about. You can find shit anywhere, but generally, like, the poorest American town somewhere, I don't know, in like Ohio, with all respect to Ohio, looks much better than a freaking Omsk. I can tell you that. But of course, Russians believe that the wealth is not the path of Russian people. Dugin says that. Wealth is not the path of Russian people. The spirituality is the path. The spirituality, the connection with the ancestors, the blood, the genetics, all that stuff. Oh my God, my head hurts so bad, my friends. Like, literally, it was much easier to explain and debunk Russian propaganda, like the main Russian narratives against Ukraine, than talking about this shit, because Dugin is he's like Hubbard multiplied by 100, okay? I will have to find a doctor after today's stream. And in 1990s, early in the 1990s, when Dugin was eating bush legs that were sent to Russia because Russian people were starving, and the United States sent their humanitarian aid, the cheap chicken, to Russia, to Ukraine, by the way, as well. And Dugin was eating those, American cheap chicken legs, drumsticks, and drinking vodka and thinking on how to destroy the West effectively. That is the thing. Dugin's spirituality raised a lot of fucks. Dugin's spirituality raised like that. Mikhail Zadornov, that Russian comedian who would start his every stand-up saying, Americans are stupid, and everybody would be like, ha ha, that's a fact, and then he would spread some insane, cringiest joke you can imagine about Russians doing even more stupid shit, and presenting this as, Russians, like generally Russians, Belarusians, Ukrainians, we have soul, and Americans only have bodies. That is the mentality of a dude living in like 21st century. I'm glad that he will not bother us anymore with his cringy standouts, because he's now chilling with Prigozhin somewhere, But that is the shit that you could see on the Russian television a lot. And my friend Ivan, I'm so glad that you preserved your sanity, because in Ukraine we also had Russian television and we would watch that. And that was insane. That was literally sucking your brain through your ear from your head. So when we talk about raising generations of zombies, unfortunately, this is how it looks like. You only need a dude who would effectively mix communism and fascism, okay, and convince you that you are great and you don't need wealth. So you can literally become a perfect soldier. Perfect soldier is literally the dude who can easily die, who can be easily sent to a different country to die for Putin. That is exactly what he wants. Oh, I finished it in just under 1 hour, I believe. And I cannot be more relieved, unfortunately. My coffee is finishing. Guys, tell me what you think about it in the chat, because I read some comments. I know that you guys must be impressed. Okay. I'm not really impressed because we raised in this environment. We were raised with the Russian television, Russian cultural expansion, political expansion. But yeah, Michael, that's what I think exactly. So Putin's endorsement of Kamala was sarcastic or a psyop. He literally joked. I joke like that all the time. Like, when you see somebody you hate and you wish him or her a good health, or you admire something, whenever somebody writes a shit, for example, in the comments, I say I wish you a good health, good man, it's the same. He joked. It doesn't mean anything. Guys, Putin's boat farms massively promote Trump on the West, which is documented. Tenet media. They massively promote Trump on the West. Russians themselves. Why would you think he would stand for Kamala? It's a joke. Iris, sorry I'm late. Ay, Iris. Animals to take care. That's a good reason. I had the Horizont channel in Sweden in the 80s. Oh my god. I was only born in 80s. That's why I cannot tell you a lot about it, but I still remember a lot of stuff from the 80s. I can even tell about the apartment I lived at when I was 1 year old. I remember everything for some unknown reason. Maybe I should study esoterics. Maybe, I am incarnated Aleister Crowley or something like that. Holy shit. Aleister fucking Crowley. Are you serious? 21st century. Back in the days, he'd be the village idiot, full stop. It's scary he actually has a say in Russia, absolutely. And we need a spreadsheet with your sources about Dugin so that Vatniks can't say it's a bullshit. Oh my god, let them read his... I will drop you this one. The Fascism, Limitless and Red, okay? Just share it among Vatniks. They will be impressed. I believe that, majority of them didn't even know about it, about Dugin's past, about the Black Order of SS, about all that crazy stuff. Yeah, they know about Dugin being Bolshevik, of course, but so what? It's a proper thing. He's a patriot, In time! Hey, hello, my friends. So good to see you here. They tried to car bomb Dugin's car, but got his daughter. Yeah, that's a good point, because when we talk about Dugin, the supporters of the Russian terrorism, they go, but Ukrainian Nazi killed his daughter. How could they? They bombed her car and the poor child died. Let me show you the poor child, okay? So, this poor child of the Russian fascist Aleksander Dugin, she was a Russian propagandist. She was a tremendous supporter of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. She was one of the biggest microphones for the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Of course, when you promote such things as holy war against the whole world, extermination of Ukrainians, kill, when you promote that shit, then because karma is such a bitch, sometimes she strikes you back. And sometimes it happens. When you promote terrorism, sometimes terrorism happens to you. Because this is how karma works, unintentionally in this case, apparently, but this is how karma works. And yeah, Dugin is a literal chaos wizard. Well, yeah, that's the thing. He thinks so. Like when Dugin promotes all that shit, and that symbol, he made it a symbol of Eurasian youth, okay, like Hitler's youth, only Eurasian youth. That was like an extremist organization of people dreaming of conquering the world. He didn't choose this symbol just because. He knows the meaning of that really, really well, of course. Oh my god, wanted to drop in Miss Starsky. I miss you too, bro. I really do. And I did. We need to feed the army. Exactly. And, today I was asked about... I was asked why Russia talks about not being your end. Like, why Russian propagandists want to convince you so much that Russia is not the enemy. Like here, for the internal audience, they say, kill, kill, kill. let's build the model of London and hit it with our nukes, let's destroy the world. That's what they say to their internal audience. And external audience, like Tucker Carlson and degenerates alike, they go, Russia is not your enemy, we are good guys. Why is that? Guys, the answer is so much simple. You have no idea. It's because when your government receives notification from the intelligence that this country prepares a war, which now we can see with the Russia stockpiling only approximately, I don't remember exactly, 70%, I believe, of their missiles that they strike Ukraine with, and then they stockpile more shells and more missiles for a different purpose. What kind of purpose? How do you think? And when intelligence of your country receives notification, receives data that some specific country prepares invasion of your country, what do? Of course, you prepare for defense, right? You prepare to defend your country. In order to do that, you have to spend more, to increase spendings on your army, on your rescue services, on your infrastructure that will help you to withstand the invasion, right? That is what you do facing an inevitable invasion from a different country. What does it mean? It means that the percentage of people that are unsatisfied with the fact that they now have to pay like 2% more of their taxes, this percentage will raise, which is like proper, like it's normal thing. And instead of showing like hostile intentions, the hostile country goes like, what are you doing? Why are you like feeding your army? Why are you increasing like military spendings? We are your friends. We are the good guys. We are not the enemy. Your government is the enemy because they feed those military industries that want to wage the war. They're warmongers. Look at us. We are peaceful. What? Like stockpiling what? But those missiles, they are designed to protect us. And if you keep doing what you're doing, we will have to preventively invade, which we will not, because we're peaceful, we're good, but we can. And this is exactly how they invaded Ukraine. They were keeping their freaking troops on the Ukrainian border for several years, actually. They had multiple military exercises. And all this time, they were feeding. Guys, you should remember that there were hundreds of statements made by Lavrov and Peskov accusing the West of being hysterical, paranoid. Russia invading Ukraine? Pfft, are you serious? We would never, And several years they fed the West and Ukraine with this shit. We are not going to invade. We are a peaceful country. Look at Ukraine. Ukraine is preparing. They're stockpiling. They're preparing to attack our tiny, small Russia. And then eventually they invaded. Because this is how the art of deception works. And even today, they don't call this an invasion. They say, remember Lavrov in India? We didn't invade Ukraine? No. We did all we could to protect Russia, but we didn't invade Ukraine. And everybody were laughing. Vlad Wexler has some insightful videos about the cultist Dugin. Yeah, I gotta check them out. Guys, Dugin has such a rich background in all that occultist shit. Like there's so many texts. Individuals like Dugin produce text in big numbers, of course, because this is their job. This is how they earn money and like glory, valor. So there's a lot of things to read. Are they actually stupid enough to believe that everyone else is just stupid? My friend, look at all the people who go outside to protest against Ukraine's right to defend itself. Yes, they protest because they want peace, but what the end result of their protest is the death of Ukraine, and they are indeed too fucking stupid to understand it. Indeed. One good thing that came out of this is you can now know how to do tantric. You can add it to your gigolo profile. I didn't research this topic deeply. Seriously, I was scared. The practices of the left hand. I'm going to send you a file about how the stuff from Dugin and Bailey and Livotsky is infiltrating the evangelicals in America. Yeah, I would really, really like to see that. How big is Dugin in Russia? Is he bigger in the West? It's a good question, actually, because, again, it's... on the West, it's promoted that Dugin is overwhelmingly like big in Russia. But at the same time, in Russia, not a lot of people even read his books, because his books are the books that you can mostly find in some kind of, sketchy places, sketchy bookstores like it was in the 90s. Currently, the situation might be better, of course. Again, he's like a professor calling to kill people, but generally people don't read much nowadays. What can we do to make people believe in facts again? Sometimes I really get quite desperate in trying. My dear friend, there are a couple of things. So debunking propaganda, debunking fakes, debunking disinformation is really really important. Exposing Russian fakes is extremely important to show people what is true and what is not. But how do we make people less cynical and more, more decent, more friendly? I have no idea. One thing that comes to my mind is we need to receive a help from people who know how to heal people's souls. And I'm talking about people of culture. Again, I may sound a bit naive, but I believe that nothing cures your soul better than music or cinematography, things like that, art and culture. Songs have insane power over people. Good music can turn you from grumpy Slav in the morning to a proper European, like it does with me all the time. So apparently we need their help as well. Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, come on. She can do it. Why left hand? Okay, Hugo, I will sacrifice just a bit of my sanity for you. Okay, let's just Google it, because I don't care seriously, but let's just check it out. Alistair Crowley. Oh no, of course I didn't switch. Alistair Crowley, left hand. I have no idea. Alistair Crowley, left hand path and right hand path. Of course, we have this beautiful Satan in the corner. They are two. So it's very important to remember: left hand path and right hand path are two opposing approaches to magic. Okay, Alistair Crowley teaches us that these are two different approaches. It's very important to distinguish them, right? So, right-hand path is commonly thought to refer to magical or religious groups which adhere to certain sets of characteristics. They divide the concepts of mind, body, and spirit into three separate entities. They adhere to specific moral code and believe in some form of judgment, such as karma and threefold law. Apparently, I'm not good with left hand because I believe in karma. Left hand path. Historian Dave Evans studied self-professed followers of the left hand path in the early 21st century, making several observations. They often reject societal convention and the status quo, which some suggest is in a search for spiritual freedom. As a part of this, left-hand path followers embrace magical techniques that would traditionally be viewed as taboo. For instance, using sex magic or embracing satanic imagery. Like, what can be wrong with embracing Satan? Come on, like, guys, we're like, you know. Like, what's wrong with being evil? You know, everything is so blurred nowadays anyways. Nothing wrong with that. Mog Morgan wrote, "The breaking of taboos makes magic more potent and can lead to reintegration and liberation. For example, the eating of meat in a vegetarian community can have the same liberating effect as an anal intercourse in a sexually inhibited society." Like, Dugin was a punk, you know. At least he considered himself a punk, apparently. That is something you should know about the left-hand path and sexual magic. Apparently, this is why amazing revolutionary ideas of Dugin are so much endorsed by Tucker Carlson. I cannot find a different explanation to this. Apparently, this is that Tucker Carlson finds, you know, exactly what the American society needs nowadays. They need Dugin. They need the left-hand path. Left-hand path. Sex magic. It brings you freedom. They call themselves like traditionalists, and they promote like left-hand path of Alistair Crowley, which is breaking free from traditional environment. We are talking about probably it's a schizophrenia. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but apparently it's something like that. Sounds like the name of a cult in Skyrim. Yeah, could be. You know, one time I was also a member of a cult in Skyrim, but then I received an arrow to my knee. traditional family values. Yeah, absolutely. In interpretation of individuals like Scott Ritter, for example. Oh, we have a witch. Not everything is evil. It was the understanding of dark and light, knowledge and ignorance, death and life. Yeah, exactly. By the way, I respect the position of Daughter of Texas, because I don't know a lot about witchcraft. You want to hear a story, by the way? It's a really cool one. So back in the days when I was like 18, I attended a church. I wasn't a firm believer, okay? I wasn't like really religious very much. But the problem was we had this extremely beautiful church, which is really symbolic for Kiev. It's where one of the Ukrainian kings from Scandinavia was born, Askoldova Mohyla, Askold's grave. Let me show it to you guys. It's a really cool place, actually. Here we have this church, and it is an extremely, extremely peaceful place. Again, I'm not extremely religious, but this church is located in the heart of Kiev, like on the hill covered with like forest. There's plenty of trees. It's always very, very calm and peaceful there, very quiet, and beyond, like not beyond, but below this church, there are crypts. Crypts is like old tombs, like a basement, like a cellar with tombs of saints, etc., etc. And generally, the place is really quiet. It's a Greek Catholic church. They are basically like Orthodox Christians, but they report to Pope of Rome. So it's an extremely significant place for Ukrainians, and Russians have their own church just across the road. And because they put their church there, the reason they put their church there, this Askoldov's church, Ukrainian one, is like 1,000 years old probably. Russians put their church like a tiny, tiny chapel in order to constantly keep a bunch of thugs inside, the goons, because they wanted to capture this one forcefully. And this is something that, again, promoters of Russian terrorism don't talk much, but Russian Orthodox Church, which, as we know, was a branch of the Russian KGB FSB, they used to forcefully capture churches from Ukrainian Orthodox Church all the time. And they wanted to capture it. There were cases of vandalism. Sometimes they would throw shit inside. And us locals, me and several other guys, we were basically defending the place. It was a good practice. And we stayed there for like New Year. It was really cool. Again, guys of my age, 18 years old, we would better go and, get drunk and do some stupid shit, together with other young people. That was the first time in my life when I stayed there for the night sermon, the New Year's sermon, and then the priest and everybody else in the church went to this little house near the church. And we had like extremely traditional and humble dinner, to celebrate the New Year. It was really sweet. It's something that I remember until today. They were like really positive, friendly people. And then because a lot of, generally a lot of Orthodox public were united around this church. There was another priest who was chief of the, I believe, Troitsky monastery, the one that was destroyed by communists. And he was collecting donations in order to restore the church. I am not sure whether it was restored yet, maybe not, but we used to like talk sometimes, you know, like we all chat in that little community. So we had this day. Let me find how it's called. Walpurgijevanich. It's almost like Halloween, but it's not. So it's called Walpurgis Night, or Saint Walpurgis Night. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. Okay? So that other priest, not the one in this specific church, but the one with the destroyed church, okay? He was a funny fella, and he said, like, guys, there's nothing cooler than literally going there to the so-called like the hill where nothing grows, you know, where witches gather around. He says, there's nothing cooler than going there and literally finding somebody like Satanists or like dark wizards, you know, necromants, and we can, you know, shoo them away from the hill. And we were like young boys, come on, like what kind of shit? But we were like, do they exist? And he's like, well, it's a good opportunity to check. We were like, okay, I'm in. So the night, there is this place in Kyiv that is called Lysa Hora, literally translated as the Bald Hill, okay? Where witches gather and Satanists and Lucifer himself. And like in the middle of the night, you can see a bunch of goons, including myself. I was like, I had nunchakas, I remember, just in case, like, you know, it's Kyiv, early 2000s. And the guys behind me, they also had something. And behind in front of this group, there is an Orthodox priest with like big bucket of holy water. And we're like, you know, like walking up to this hill in the middle of the night, nobody there. And it was so freaking funny because the cringe of the situation, like if you saw us back then, you would probably call police and we would end up in like news, you know. But it was so funny. I remember we spent like 3 hours literally roaming around this hill looking for, you know, sketchy people riding brooms. And eating cats. By the way, I hope you ate your cat today. And in the end, like it was cringy. We understood that it was cringy, but at the same time, it was so funny. And in the end, we're like, so Holy Father, where the hell are witches? What the hell are we doing here? We didn't find anybody. And he's like, well, we didn't, but you know, in the end, we had a like really cool time. And this is something I will remember forever. I mean, like, we're going there, you know, like, there is like a small trail, okay? Like hiking trail. and on like down this trail there goes some dude, probably some alcoholic or somebody returning from like a restaurant, and then from the bushes it emerges like this group of goons and the priest, and we're like, hello. And here's like, oh, holy shit, who are you? We're like, well, we are from the Catholic school, okay? We are students. And he looks at us like, what the hell is going on here? Do you want my money or something? Like, no. We are looking for other students. Have you seen somebody like that? He's like, no. We're like, nobody flying brooms? He's like, no. We're like, okay, go. It was like the cringiest episode of my life, but I love it so much. I mean, we had so much fun there, just roaming around that place. It was a really sketchy place, by the way, because there was this old monk cemetery. Cemetery where they would bury like priests and monks, etc. And some of those graves are really old. It's like literally hill going downwards, and there are graves among the bushes, and it's a really sketchy place. Currently, I've been there, I believe, last year. Currently, there is place where Ukrainian pagans gather, and when I was there, I found some kind of journal, which was, again, it was really cool. There was like this place where pagans gathered, and on a bench there was a notebook. I opened the notebook, and there were literally messages from people to other people who would read this notebook. I didn't have a pen, that's why I didn't leave any message, but it was extremely sweet. And it was a really cool place, like roaming around, among those graves looking for like sketchy gothic guys, oh my god, it was so funny and cringy at the same time. I did a lot of cringy things back when I was a young dude. I just can't with Starsky skulking nunchucks up hunting witches. Yeah, do you call it Bald Hill as well? Because I'm not sure how you call it, like Hill of Witches. Bald Hill, we call it like Bald Hill, there are several such places in Kiev, actually. There is a place where actually there are remains of old fortifications that were built in like 17th or 18th century. And the place there is extremely cool because I remember we were hanging out there, and you can often see there some kind of people like with swords, bashing the shit out of each other with swords and axes. John Tolkien followers, those guys, they do role playing in that area because it's really cool. It's like hill. From this hill, there's like this beautiful landscape that you can see, and they like to gather there. Elves, with those like artificial ears. It was cool, and we were there like drinking beer, just hanging out. All of a sudden, and guys, I was again around 18 years old, and all of a sudden, like there are guys practicing like pagan meditation. On that side of the hill, you can see a lot of elves like literally killing each other with swords, which was extremely cool. And then when we decided that it's time to go home and we pass by some bushes, emerges this huge freaking pickup truck. And in the pickup truck, there's a guy wearing like tactical uniform, and I think he had something like AR-15, probably. They emerged from the bushes, and the dude like looks at us, and then he jumps down from the pickup truck and disappears in the forest. I'm like, okay, like I saw pagans, I saw like witches, I saw elves. Who the fuck are those guys? What now? What to expect here, you know? In Kiev, you could see anything. Anything is possible in Kiev, especially when you are armed with a beer. Oh my god. We were sitting there. What were we doing? We were like celebrating my birthday. I think I had like 20th birthday. And we're just sitting there. I believe I was making either pizza. Yeah, I had pizza and we had beer and a bottle of tequila. And I'm sitting with my friends, the girls I knew. And then out of the bushes emerges a cop. Like literally a policeman. And from what I can say, this dude, even though I'm 20, I thought that he was like 19. And he emerges from the bushes and he's like, "The hell are you doing here?" I'm like, "Dude, relax, we're celebrating my birthday." He's like, "Drugs?" I'm like, "No." "Weapons?" I'm like, "No, thank you." He's like, "You have pizza?" I'm like, "Come on, join." And this dude sits there with us, and like I'm sharing cigarettes. The dude was actually from the internal troops. You can see, for example, oh my god, do I have it here? No, as always, I didn't save it. There is like a guy wearing like black uniform, internal troops, basically like National Guard before it became National Guard. It sucked. But they did all kind of law enforcement, and he was just like a conscript, 19-year-old conscript that did whatever on a hill. I'm like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Well, we are sent here to make sure, you know, like Satanists don't cut each other heads." I'm like, "Okay, you want pizza?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So we had pizza, he had like a beer, and it was really cool. In the end, I made this photo together with him. I'm not sure if I still have it. If I find it, it will be extremely nice. Like me, I have like this long hair, wearing camouflaged shirt saying U.S. Army, and I'm like hugging with the cop. And whoever I showed that photo, people were like, "The hell is this? Like, what the hell happened?" There are so many stories from Kiev, and especially the Bald Mountain. All kinds of stuff would happen on the Bald Mountain, my friends. But we are approaching the end of my stream. And in the end of my stream, I would like to, as always, say thank you so much. Thank you so much for supporting Ukraine. Thank you so much for saving Ukrainian lives. We will never, never forget this. Guys, you are true heroes, seriously, because you support our country, and Ukrainians will always be grateful for this. I love you, as always. Be safe, and we'll see you next time. Guys, bye-bye.